3, 2, 1, fire.
Today's most awesome fireworks pack more oohs and ahs than ever before. The sight of whole batteries of shells being launched is matched only in the sky by the chest-thumping blasts of exploding color. Skilled pyrotechnicians have brought computers and electronic igniters to their time-honored art to create these amazing displays of pyro wizardry. One of our earliest awakenings to the laws of physics comes on July 4th, when, as barely cognizant beings, we stare at a strange and wonderful night sky full of bursting bombs. Fractions of a second before any sound is heard, we learn to flinch at the staccato flashes of white. The thundering reports confirm that light travels faster than sound. After this initial lesson, a black veil, dark as the pyrotechnician's silhouettes, descends over the whole experience. Fireworks enters a realm of forbidden knowledge, a magic practiced for our wonderment, not our understanding.
The people enjoy it because of the mystery. You can look at the stars and every night they're going to be in the same place, but you can launch a 6-inch shell and you're not quite sure exactly what it's going to do until it actually performs. So there's some connection with fire and man that's gone back since the beginning of time.
Yet today's world of fireworks, also known as pyrotechnics, is firmly based in modern science, and as such, it is completely open to our exploration.
The basic thrill of fireworks is the sky exploding in color, in light. I think there's something that goes to the basic human psyche about the ability to control this release of energy. In order to make really good fireworks, we have to understand the basic chemistry, basic physics, basic electronics to get a really good fireworks show.
What is the reality behind the magic? Fireworks shows range in size and can cost from a few thousand to several $100,000. They can be either in the sky or indoors. Behind these impressive displays are the fireworks people who create them and their incredible enthusiasm.
When 20,000 people scream their guts out with joy over something I've just done, nothing can pay that. It's an addictive drug. If you don't feel that coming back from the audience, you're in the wrong business. And if you do feel it, it is the ultimate addiction.
2,000 years ago, the Chinese are thought to have made the first fireworks by packing saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal into bamboo tubes. This is the earliest known use of black powder, as the mixture has since come to be known. When lit, the noise produced so impressed the Chinese that they were convinced fireworks could drive away evil spirits. And so, fireworks assumed a special place in Chinese culture, used in practically all ceremonies, including births, marriages, and funerals. The Italian explorer Marco Polo described fireworks on his trip to China in the 13th century as one of the wonders of the Orient. Not long after Marco Polo brought black powder back to the West, a German monk converted it for use in a gun, as gunpowder. The Italians, on the other hand, used it to make fireworks. The Italians have been refining the art of pyrotechnics ever since, first in Europe and later in America, where certain fireworks family dynasties remain in business to this day. Fireworks in America have been synonymous with 4th of July celebrations from the time Boston patriot John Adams wrote in 1776 that the national holiday ought to be solemnized, with such displays from one end of the continent to the other, from this time forward and forevermore. Americans have remained faithful to that spirit. From World's Fairs, to inaugurations, homecomings, fireworks are now used to celebrate every kind of event. On the edge of Long Island's Pine Barrens in Brookhaven, New York, the world-famous Grucci fireworks family have built a compound that would seem able to withstand any attack. However, these reinforcements guard against danger not from the outside, but from within. The sandy soil of Long Island is perfect for building row upon row of neatly ordered bunkers, magazines that store explosive compounds, and fireworks. Near the end of the 19th century, a great uncle of the Gruccis, Angelo Lanzetta, brought over in a shoebox from Italy to New York closely guarded formulas for pyrotechnics. In 1938, Felix Grucci Sr. took over the business, and in the decades that followed, the family gained a reputation for artistry and inventiveness. However, it took a gold medal at the Monte Carlo fireworks competition in 1979 and the 1983 Brooklyn Bridge Centennial Celebration to launch them into the big time.
Fireworks has been in our family for about 130 years. It's been passed on from one generation to the next, and it's actually woven into every fiber of our being.
Part of the reason for the Grucci's success has been close attention to detail and to safety. Before entering the shop where shells are assembled, a worker touches a brass plate, drawing from her body any potentially dangerous static charge. Jimmy, a fourth-generation Grucci, personally primes and inspects a shipment of aerial shells that have come in from Asia. They are specially made with 2 fuses, one as a backup. Another worker attaches bags of black powder lifting charge.
What we have behind me is custom-made aerial shells to the specifications of fireworks by Grucci. These aerial shells have 2 timing mechanisms on them, and each timing mechanism is primed with a powder charge. These timing mechanisms are designed to burn for approximately 3.5 to 4 seconds. They will allow this shell to reach an altitude of approximately 600 feet, where it will then burst open and expel all of the component parts.
As do most large fireworks companies, Grucci also manufactures its own variety of aerial shells, blending the different chemical compounds and shaping the shells by hand. American-made shells are cylindrical in shape, giving them a more random burst. The colors, on the other hand, last longer relative to their spherical Asian counterparts, which spread into spectacular floral patterns and then fade. One of the company's major creative forces and grandson of the family patriarch is Phil Grucci. Phil has designed or choreographed many of the major fireworks displays of recent years. Now he's busy working on a show for the grand opening of the Reserve Casino in Las Vegas.
We utilize the digital editor as our tool. The computer is our tool, but the actual creativity is our imagination. Graphically, the computer gives us the music on the screen where we can see our valleys and our peaks. From that, then I go to my own internal imagination, knowing what our inventory is or our cast of characters, and place them in the appropriate locations to the music. And it's all based on emotion. It's just like painting a picture. What your palette is and making sure that the right colors and the right hues are placed on that canvas.
And what artist could ask for a greater canvas than the silky night sky? Perhaps that's the real power of fireworks. It is free-form expression where literally the sky's the limit.
For the Reserve grand opening, because it is a grand opening, it's a very celebratory event. It's a very bold event. The music is very bold. As you can see, the graphs, there's very little valleys here. Most of it's all peaks. So the fireworks in this event, the tempo is very upbeat. As you can see, we'll place the fireworks exactly at the moment where that product needs to perform at its cue, if you will.
Phil learned the trade at the side of his father, Jimmy Grucci. His apprenticeship with his father was cut tragically short in November 1983. Just 6 months after Jimmy Grucci's greatest triumph with the Brooklyn Bridge display, he was killed, along with a cousin, in an accidental explosion that destroyed most of the company complex. It is a testament to the family's strength that they decided to rebuild and go on. The only way to live with the hazards is to take them with deadly seriousness.
The greatest risks in manufacturing occurs at the time when you're blending the chemicals together. At that point, if certain chemicals come in contact with each other that are not supposed to be coming into contact with each other, you can have a spontaneous combustion. So we're always cognizant of the devices that we're working on, new formulations that are coming out. But the most sensitive part of the program is when you're actually out on the location, and to make sure that you have the right tables of distances separating your audience from the actual points of discharge of the fireworks, because if an incident is going to happen, that's the place that it would happen at.
Las Vegas, Nevada, known for world-class entertainment. Familiar stomping grounds of the Grucci family, who have staged fireworks extravaganzas at the unveiling and even the demise of many of its most famous casinos. Workers at the Reserve Hotel and Casino, just over the city limits in Henderson, are racing to get everything ready for the grand opening the following day. Fireworks by Grucci aims to make it one that will not soon be forgotten.
In this particular program, we have a number of locations. We have 5 total: the high-rise of the building, the low-rise, and 3 aerial sites. The VIP audience for this is right in the middle of it. So they have pyrotechnics basically in sense around. And during the program, we bounce from the high-rise to the low-rise to the aerials. During the finale, all the 5 locations come together as one large finale.
More than 3,200 pyrotechnic devices will be ignited from these 3 aerial shell sites and 2 low-level fireworks sites on the roof. 2,100 launched in the 2-minute finale alone.
What Joe's loading right now is a 3-inch silver meteor. It's a firework that when it's fired from the mortar, it leaves a very bright silver column from the ground level up to about 300 feet. He's loading them into mortars, which is like a cannon. Each one of those, you see the wires that are hanging out of it. That wire is extended to a firing console, like a lighting board. And when the pyrotechnician pushes a button during the script of the program, that button will correspond to that firework and discharge it into the air.
Electric charges are sent to the shell's fuses through these miles of wires, where they ignite them by way of electric matches, which create sparks. Workers set up and wire rows of Roman candles and pyrotechnic strobes for a low-level effect that will contrast with the high-level aerial shells, while defining the second-story roof as the foreground for the display.
So, roughly 4 feet from each pillar. Does that look good from there, thinking about it?
Phil returns to ground level to see that they have placed the fireworks correctly on the 2 roofs in relation to the primary viewing area. The major artillery of the show will be launched from 3 ground-level satellite sites. The mechanics of firing a shell are described by renowned fireworks professor Dr. John Conkling.
The aerial shell is probably the firework most people are familiar with, associate with the 4th of July and a fireworks show. These are devices, they range from 3 inches to 12 inches or more in diameter, are loaded into a tube called a mortar that's buried in the ground or secured in a rack, and then are launched several hundred feet up in the air where they explode. The inside construction is interesting. There is a charge of black powder, old gunpowder on the bottom. This is the propellant that throws the device several hundred feet up in the air. While it's firing up in the air, a time fuse is burning. So 5-6 seconds later, it's 400 feet up in the air. The fuse burns into the center. This is a black powder that's impregnated on rice hulls to give a nice quick flash and a burst. This explodes the package. Around the outside are stars. These are the pellets that burn with a red color, a green color, a blue color, and will form a pattern up in the air.
When all the electrical connections have been run from the firing board to the mortars, the chief pyrotechnician runs a continuity test. He sends an extremely small current through the lines to diagnose any problems, which would indicate a break in the electrical circuit between the board and shells.
Confirm 1 red light. Second confirmation, we have 2 red lights.
At the main aerial battery, they work right up into the evening, loading more shells and double-checking everything to make sure tomorrow's 10-minute show goes off safely and on cue.
This shell, as you can see, has a number on it also. And this is designed in the program to be the 261st cue in the program. So there'll be a pre-time that if the music calls for this purple chrysanthemum to be in the sky, 5 seconds before the music calls for that, the pyrotechnician down here needs to launch this into the sky, which is our pre-time.
These 3 satellite sites with their array of mortars will bear the brunt of launching the deafening bombardment and saturation of color that mark the Grucci Grand Finale.
The sand in here is mainly to keep the mortars facing the way that you put them. So now, if you didn't have sand in there or anything holding the mortars, it would just flip-flop when it goes out. But now, as you see, we have these angled a little bit that way. On that side, we have them angled. So it fills up the sky and it covers the whole area. You're getting a beautiful scene of it all over.
All shells make noise, but the really loud bangs, known as salutes, are produced by a shell having an additional chamber filled with a highly combustible aluminum powder. Whether they know it or not, all Las Vegas is in for a fireworks treat as big as the Nevada sky. When the doors open the next day, VIP guests get an exotic first glance at the brand new casino. At 9:30, guests are invited out into the brisk desert air to witness the pyrotechnic baptism of the casino. From point of launch up to the sky, pyrotechnics completely fill the scene with their grace and power. Then, the finale.
Position 4A, standing by for firing cues. Board is armed.
There's a personal association to me for what I do here on the site and all the choreography and the time that's spent to my father. He gave his life for this business, and so every program that we go on is my own dedication to him.
Words do not convey the full sensory experience, which is why people invented fireworks in the first place. Inside the offices of Pyro Spectaculars, located in the San Bernardino area of Southern California, Jim Souza is putting the finishing touches on a fireworks sequence for their upcoming showcase. Each spring, they preview their Independence Day program in front of a select audience of friends and customers. Come July, Pyro Spectaculars will be displaying variations of this program at more than 300 sites around the country. For nearly a century, the Souza family has painted fire on the earth and sky with both low and high-level fireworks. Today, Pyro Spectaculars produces over 1,500 shows yearly, including the Super Bowl 7 times, and a dramatic annual New Year's Eve display off Seattle's Space Needle. The tradition begun by Jim's great-grandfather of carefully designing and creating everything by hand has merely gotten an assist from the new tools of technology.
That's the real computer. It's what's inside here. And a lot of thoughts are always going through my head, and never know quite when or which one has the most influence. It could be just driving down the road, but I'm always trying to blend together. Music is a great inspiration, yet I may have a great firework effect. I know I have to get in there, so I have to find the music to that.
A few days before the big event, Jim holds a production meeting. Present is the staff who has helped design the showcase.
I want it bouncing back and forth to the beat, and it's going to look like this when we're done. It's going to.
Everyone's excited as he talks through the pyro musical, the songs, narration, and array of low and high-level fireworks that will complement a series of set pieces or large-scale fire pictures, tracing in broad, blazing strokes American history. On the company grounds, converted World War II bunkers serve as magazines for storage of the more explosive aerial devices. A worker pulls from bins the 400-plus shells that will create the high-level backdrop for the pyro musical showcase. In another facility, skilled artisans are assembling the 4th of July set pieces, patriotic icons that will burn brightly all across America.
Making the set pieces, it's still very much an ancient art. It's still done by hand. It's real physical work to take the bamboo and to make the different shapes. It's very physical, very time-consuming and labor-intense, and so therefore it's very expensive. And so the trend lately in the fireworks community is to just pump up a lot more aerial shows, which are good and beautiful. We do that as well, but it still goes back as a family tradition to really feature these animated set pieces.
On the morning of the show, scaffolding for the set pieces goes up at the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds. Years ago, set pieces were a common part of all fireworks displays. Today, they are almost a lost art.
Yeah, okay, these are going to move over, straddling this line. So obviously you got the flagpole, then these move over, then that section, then this section. Bring it back this way a bit.
Pick it up real slow. Nice and long. Yeah, I just move my foot to make sure you don't slip out and don't get framed. Pick up on the top, then one more. More on the back, more in front. Get ready. Vertical.
The set piece gives the fireworks artist a chance to be really creative in the design. Hundreds of tubes the size of a pen are filled with fireworks composition that burns with a red flame, a green flame, a blue flame, a white flame. They're paints. The tubes are all connected with a very quick burning fuse. The fuse is covered, it's encased in a tape. Either a tape or a paper wrapper over black powder confines the hot gas beneath the wrapper, and the flame jets down the tape very, very quickly, hundreds of feet per second.
Because the setup of a show as large as this requires so many workers, fireworks companies must train and keep lists of qualified people in states around the country. They will usually send out a few of their own people to put on a show, which they will then supplement locally. To get the certification needed by most states, pyrotechs put in a required number of hours under the supervision of a pyro master, of which there are several in attendance today. The time volunteers spend setting up this show will count directly toward their certification.
This show is the first big show of the new season, and these firework enthusiasts are so eager to get their hands on it again. They come out here, they get no pay, they get a pyro t-shirt, a la, okay?
Roman candles are very popular in fireworks displays. They are usually fired in batteries of 3 or more, arranged on a fan-shaped board or spline to give a low-level effect. You can angle them, cross them, and then above, place higher aerial shells for a great combination of effects.
Roman candles are a repeating firework. Manufacturer makes them by starting with a clay plug in the bottom, charge of black powder, propellant, and then a large star, a pellet that'll burn with a red color, a green color, and then they press a delay composition, a slow burning mix. But then black powder, star, delay, black powder, star, delay, light it from the top, delay burns, hits the black powder, shoots the star up in the air. Delay burns, the next star gets shot. 10, 12, 15 times, depending on how many stars you have in the candle.
Fireworks chemistry is based on the principle that fire needs fuel and oxygen to burn. And since pyrotechnics is the art of manipulating fire, all fireworks start with these two ingredients.
You begin with a basic mix that'll contain an oxidizer, and here we have potassium perchlorate. This is a very commonly used oxidizer in fireworks. And we have red gum. This is a powdered gum that comes from Australia, makes a very, very good fuel for fireworks. On here, we'll light the potassium perchlorate. Nothing happens. We light the red gum. Absolutely nothing happens. Now we're going to blend these two together, and we'll put some of our red gum potassium perchlorate mix on here. Put a fuse in this. Together, the two burn beautifully.
To make color, fireworks manufacturers take the basic mixture of fuel and oxidizer and add other compounds. For instance, the elements strontium and chlorine, when present in a flame or explosion, will heat up and combine together to produce molecules that give off a bright red light. By varying the chemicals added to the basic mixture, manufacturers are able to produce all the fabulous colors of a fireworks show. The color depends on the wavelength of the light emitted when fireworks burn or explode. When light energy passes through different compounds, it tends to bend or refract at different wavelengths of the visible spectrum. Strontium, as we have seen, produces red light. This bending causes all colors appreciated by human eyes, young and old.
Can we get one more person down on this line?
There is a palpable tension in the air as the pyrotechnicians put the finishing touches on the arrangement of set pieces, Roman candles, fountains, comets, and aerial shells. All must be perfectly ready for the first cue and the thunder and magic that will ensue. Guests begin to arrive as darkness falls.
Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
After a stirring journey through American history and fiery symbols of independence, the show concludes with a volley of Sousa comets and a spine-tingling grand finale.
They're just in heaven out there. I've got one guy's just so happy to be touching it again. And they do it for free. You know what? How can you argue with that? And they're having a grand time. They get to see the show. And then they're going to be out here tearing it down, putting it back in the truck for another hour, hour and a half. It's dedication to the art.
Great.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Like a victorious team, the pyrotechnicians come out onto the field after the show to congratulate one another.
Sammy.
The emotions that fireworks stir in all of us are especially strong at this moment for these hardy keepers of the flame. Along with gambling, Las Vegas is known for its nightlife, where shows always promise something extra, a certain magic. Today, that magic often comes in the form of indoor or close proximity fireworks.
The ability to produce a fireworks effect in a space that nobody could possibly expect is always startling. When you're watching a show that's a mile away, that's one thing. When suddenly it's in your lap and you're still okay, that is a real thrill.
Luxor Hotel and Casino is an entertainment palace fit for a pharaoh. Luxor features an enticing array of entertainment, including the new age circus variety show Imagine, that packs a few fiery surprises. So they don't pose a threat to performers, the show's pyro devices are precisely labeled with height and width specifications. This allows technicians to safely position these close proximity fireworks. Fire marshals inspecting the set simply refer to the labels and then get out their yardsticks. Chemical ingredients are also often included on the labels.
Nobody cares if you put a little lead in the air outdoors, or a little arsenic, or a little of whatever. Indoors, however, the people are going to have to breathe the air that the show took place in. And our goal has basically been to make sure that when you leave the show, the air in the building is no worse than what you drive through to get there.
Next door to the Luxor, the theme at the Excalibur Hotel and Casino is medieval times, and in keeping, their show is a gala pageant of knights and damsels, jousting and jesters, magic, and pyro.
In the Excalibur show, you're dealing with animals, and so you have to put in effects that, won't scare the animals and are not only safe around the animals, but you've got a large cast and you've got audience members that are relatively close to the arena, and so you have to take that into account when you're installing all the pyrotechnics. We're very careful to put in fireworks that produce low amount of smoke so that the smoke can be evacuated quickly after the show, so that as the patrons are leaving the arena, they're not enveloped in a big cloud of smoke as they walk out.
Huntsville, Alabama, historically an important center of rocketry and the U.S. program to explore outer space. Owens Crossroads, just outside Huntsville. In this bucolic setting, the Lunatech Corporation makes its home. Since 1977, Lunatech has made its reputation as the leading promoter and manufacturer of close proximity fireworks for indoor space. Endless research and development go into Lunatech products to make them as safe and consistent as possible.
3, 2, 1, fire!
But as a self-avowed pyro, company founder Tom DeWilly also insists that they make you jump.
All children love fireworks. And I don't think the word children necessarily denotes age. I think fireworks bring out the child in all of us. I've never grown up, and I'll admit it. There are times that I'm frustrated. I can't think of anything. I just have to do something. So I go out in the backyard and have a pyro fix.
DeWilly claims that the mast they've had planted on the testing grounds is actually the world's tallest yardstick. Lunatech uses it for measuring the height of their larger stage and arena pyro products. Making them so reliable starts with the right ingredients. Mixing is done remotely for safety reasons. Assembly of these gerbs, small fountain-like devices that produce an effusion of sparks, is all done by hand. Anything less than perfect doesn't make it to the end of the line. The brain of the pyro pack, as the total system is called, is the master controller firing device, also made on the premises. Lunatech claims the beauty of the system is that it works every time.
When we first started the PyroPack system, we figured 100 firing systems would saturate the market. Indeed, it did saturate the market that existed. However, we generated a market we had absolutely no concept could happen. There's over 5,000 of the firing systems out there now. And that's incomprehensible. I never would have thought it.
Probably the last place you'd expect to see indoor fireworks is on a cruise ship. After all, some of the world's most notorious disasters have resulted from fires at sea, which have produced some of the most tightly restricted regulations of any industry.
Aboard ship, you have to deal with the Coast Guard naturally. You have to deal with Lloyd's of London, who insures most of the cruise ships, and it depends on where you're at in California, New York, Florida. Sometimes you have to deal with the local fire departments as well.
But now that close proximity fireworks have become more commonplace, most inspectors can just look at their labels and the setup and determine whether there is compliance on the spot.
People really don't expect to see fireworks, especially on a ship. They come, they expect to see your average show, like you see, kind of a humdrum, laid-back show, and then all of a sudden they've got explosions going off left and right. And it really blows them away just to see the expressions and the reactions of people's faces. I think pyrotechnics has a great deal to do with the crowd reaction and the energy in a room, because it just adds another level, another dimension that they just don't expect. And especially for a finale, nothing really caps it better than to have like a huge waterfall of sparks, falling behind a bunch of dancers to really get a crowd up and actually on their feet. Usually sometimes they'll even get a standing ovation based on pyrotechnics.
Playing with fire is always dangerous. I've made a large effort to make fireworks safe for the world. If you give enough information, then they should be able to apply the product safely, dramatically. We make the pigments. It's up to them to paint the picture.
Proof of the achievement of Lunatech's indoor fireworks is their 35% net trade surplus with Asia, the world's exporter of fireworks. Truly an American success story.
Cool, man.
400 miles north, a story of success measured in sheer tonnage. Here, every year, Zambelli Fireworks creates America's largest fireworks display. At the widest point of the Ohio River, the city of Louisville, in one of the biggest collaborations of the entertainment world, is in final preparations for a gargantuan outdoor show involving at least 2 states, the United States military, a cadre of multimedia production companies, and the magnificent Zambelli Fireworks Internationale. This annual blowout event, known as Thunder Over Louisville, is part of a 2-week-long kickoff to the Kentucky Derby.
It's unbelievable how Thunder has grown. No matter where we are, they'll say, Zambelli, oh, wow, unbelievable, you do Thunder over Louisville. And it's becoming world-renowned. I mean, wherever you go, people are beginning to know the display.
There's a lot of people in the fireworks industry that come here to check this one out because this is the granddaddy of the fireworks. People are coming in from all over the country. There was 400 that came in from England last year for the show.
It gives us a chance to show off our wares. We've got 25 of the top technicians in the industry here with us, and everybody wants to come, and it should be a bang-up show with no reservations.
Antonio Zambelli founded the company in 1893, and the black book of secret fireworks recipes that he carried from Italy across the Atlantic is still kept locked up in the company's safe. Today, Zambelli Fireworks, operating out of Newcastle, Pennsylvania, is a multi-million-dollar business. Zambelli produces 3,500 displays a year, 1,800 on the 4th of July alone. They have 55 employees, but that number mushrooms to over 800 during the busy season. Zambelli marquee events include the inaugurations of 4 presidents, the National Victory Celebration to welcome home Desert Storm troops, and, of course, Thunder over Louisville. Today, Antonio Zambelli's son, George Sr., runs the company. The Zambellis understand that it's equally the pyrotechnicians and producers outside the family who are key to the success of a show, especially one as big as Thunder. The figures for the 27-minute program are staggering. Onto Louisville's 2nd Street Bridge and 3 barges on either side, over 34,000 shells and 46 tons of fireworks will be deployed, enough to fill 8 tractor trailers. 700 miles of wire cabling, 265 tons of mortars, and 1 million pounds of sand to pack the mortars securely onto barges the size of 6 football fields.
This display is more powerful than any display ever produced. It has more power than the Statue of Liberty display. And it's that concentration and magnitude in one locale that really sets this display apart from any other in the history of fireworks.
The weather forecast calls for rain tomorrow. Nevertheless, 750,000 people are expected to be on hand for the big event. The mortars are covered with plastic and tarps, which will be removed just prior to the show. Before the tarps are laid, technicians spread a layer of aluminum foil over the mortars to protect against any rain once the tarps are pulled. With the foil covers and the fact that shells carry their own internally sealed sources of fuel and oxygen, fireworks are not as vulnerable to rain as one would think.
Essentially, when the first shell goes, it's going to blow the foil off anyway, but it's used mostly so we can uncover prior to the show and then fire the show on time without having to worry about the weather conditions. You know, slight drizzle or whatever won't damage the product that's inside the tubes.
And what happens if there's an all-out downpour?
Just let it go. As long as the command center says go ahead and go, we'll shoot the show to the best of our ability.
The countdown to Thunder continues at the show command center, located in a suite high above the river site. The crew here will oversee the entire event, from an elaborate air show to fireworks finale.
The magic with what the Zambelli Company has brought to this show is the pure raw power of the fireworks show that we've got going on with this. With the magnitude that they've developed over the years for this kind of show, it's an incredible half hour because we've literally got a constant finale.
A digital time code track running along with the show's musical soundtrack is sent out via radio signal to computers located on the barges and the 2nd Street Bridge. Running time code in exact sync with the music cues the firing sequence, which is preloaded onto the computers.
Each computer is connected to a main module that then sends signals to field modules, hundreds of which are all over the barges. And as you can see, here's a field module here, and the various connections are back and forth to the different field modules so that they're constantly talking and interacting with each other, so that when a 16-inch multi-brake shell that needs to be fired at 5 minutes and 23 seconds, the computer will know where to fire that shell.
With 46 tons of explosives on board, safety is necessarily the primary concern. A spark could trigger a massive chain reaction type explosion. But the experienced crew loads the shells straight from boxes into mortars, in the order in which they were packed. This keeps individual shells isolated from each other as much as possible. An accidental detonation of a shell in a mortar would simply fire it up into the air. A more likely and less serious mishap would be that a shell wouldn't fire during the show due to a failed connection. At show's end, pyrotechnicians run an inspection of all the mortars to make sure none are still hanging fire.
Between 91 and 92 then.
Before the show, pyrotechs troubleshoot connections to all 45,000 plus shells and devices using field computers.
Did you change that jumper between 93 and 94?
How about now? Is it going?
There it passed. Okay, well.
Water as a complement to fireworks has a long history in pyrotechnic displays. The mighty Ohio and the 2nd Street Bridge spanning from Kentucky to Indiana will be the grand centers of attention for thunder.
The site is absolutely fantastic. We have essentially a 3,000-foot river here, the Ohio River. We have the 2nd Street Bridge, which we display pyrotechnic effects for 3,000 feet.
It gives you that double reflection. And fireworks really sound different as a result of the water as well. So when you put the two together, the reflection, the sound, it gives it that extra measure of excitement that you're looking for.
I remember the first time I came, I had seen fireworks all my life, and when I got here and I saw that bridge light up, I mean, it was just something that I had never seen, and it's something that you just cannot describe. You just can't tell people, what's going to happen and what it's going to look like.
With its elegant trestles and sleek lines, the 2nd Street Bridge is the perfect stage for low-level pyrotechnics, such as strobe pots, star mines, comets, and bombette candles. In addition, for this year, 400 computer-synced concert show lights have been set up on the bridge, which will enable it to completely change color in time with the music and fireworks. Thunder exhausted the supply of available lights in North America and had to have them supplemented with lights from Europe.
The Zambelli Fireworks family is proud to exhibit the world's largest low-level fireworks display here in Louisville on the 2nd Street Bridge. The Zambelli Gargantua, the largest finale in the world, will have thousands of effects just off the bridge, including the Niagara Falls. It's going to be a spectacular sight that no one will ever forget.
6.5 hours of aero-acrobatic pre-show lead up to the main event, featuring military jet fighters darting across the airspace and helicopter teams on simulated missions over the waters of the Ohio. At 8:15 in the evening, the barges make their dramatic entrance, announcing themselves with a barrage of titanium salutes. The weather has threatened all day, and now rain begins to fall above the charged air of the crowd. And then it starts.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Special aerial shells create a huge canopy of color into which other shells are shot. bright glow spreads down to the water and over both banks of the river. The crowd gasps as thunder's signature effect, 2 waterfalls of fireworks more than a mile of fire, descends from the bridge. The finale, dubbed Gargantua, boasts more shells fired in a 30-second span than ever before. Light, fire, and sound, all compressed into one of the largest pyrotechnics endings in history. So what kind of fireworks will the world be seeing in the not-so-distant future? Could virtual, purely computer-generated pyrotechnics be created, projected onto, for example, a giant screen or planetarium ceiling? Could that ever replace this most immediate, almost primal connection we have with real fireworks? A more likely scenario would be that through technology, the present displays would simply become safer and more efficient.
Technology today really exists to do fireworks in a more technical way. Using multiplexing technology, we can actually fire the same number of fireworks with much fewer cables because the signals are grouped together on a single line. We're getting on the front end of taking care of that with the computers and the different firing boxes. But as that goes down, actually you might see only one wire going to a rack.
Fewer wires would mean less setup time and less expense. This could translate to even bigger fireworks displays and more of them. Yet, as a product of our own making, the essential thing about fireworks cannot change any more than we can. They will always be at the center of our fascination with and need to control fire.
We're moving forward, as we are very rapidly right now, and with the use of computerization, electronics, and the chemistry is getting much more sophisticated. So it's going to continue to advance. Yet at the same time, what I think is you can't forget we're still dealing with fireworks. And that is something that is special, that is magic, that mankind likes, people like, and we're still going to always have that little edge, little roughness that makes it fireworks.
Today's fireworks makers use science only as a means to an end, which is to help us celebrate life. And like artists, their creations are larger than the sum of their parts. With their skill, the true masters of the form can literally transform the landscape, rivers, and sky into places of magic, with blazing color, thunderous noise, and the sounds of spontaneous joy.